The U.S. death toll from the COVID-19 pandemic has now topped 127,000 people. The epicenter has shifted to the west and the south, where cases have ballooned to record highs. Amna Nawaz has our report.
California's COVID response was once called a miracle for quickly stemming virus spread. But the state today took steps to move back into lockdown after new cases spiked almost 80% in the last 2 weeks.
Bottom line is the spread of this virus continues at a rate that is particularly concerning. 4th of July weekend has raised a lot of concern from our health officials. We want to, again, remind each and every one of you that if we want to be independent from COVID-19, we have to be much more vigilant.
California's not alone. A majority of states in the country are now reporting surges in infections. Yesterday, the U.S. recorded more than 47,000 new cases, the nation's highest single-day spike in the pandemic so far. To slow virus spread, at least 14 states are now moving to pause or reverse plans to reopen their economies. But the majority of states are still moving ahead on lifting restrictions, despite the rise in infections. Currently, only 17 states and the District of Columbia have issued mask mandates. And Texas is not one of them. In fact, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said in a Fox News interview last night that he doesn't need any advice from Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert.
Fauci said today that he's concerned about states like Texas that skipped over certain things. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Texas had one of the shortest stay-at-home orders in the nation and is now reversing reopening steps after a record number of new infections. Hospitals here, already stretched, are bracing for the weeks ahead.
The hospitals right now are operating with nearly 100% of intensive care unit beds occupied. It's several hospitals. If the community doesn't start behaving differently, there's going to be a limit to what the hospitals will handle. It's not today, that's 3 weeks from now.
In Phoenix today, Vice President Mike Pence met with Governor Doug Ducey as Arizona struggles to contain its spike in cases and puts a pause on reopening.
I know we'll get through this. I'm absolutely confident that with your leadership, with the full support of the federal government behind you, the cooperation of the people of Arizona, we'll slow the spread and we'll flatten the curve.
Meanwhile, in Washington, the Senate last night and the House today approved a 5-week extension on the Paycheck Protection Program for small businesses struggling to stay open with the stops and starts of state plans. Business owners like John Wen are left struggling to keep up with shifting plans, like Texas's recent reversal.
That definitely added a lot of complexity and stress to small business owners like me. We were hoping it would turn around by May, but now that everything is going in the wrong direction, it doesn't look like we're going to be over this anytime soon.
Plans on hold across the country as states scramble to stifle another swell of COVID-19 infections. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Amna Nawaz.
This is AP News Minute. Republican and Democratic Congress members are calling for more answers about the Russia-Afghanistan intelligence allegations. President Trump says he wasn't briefed on reports that Russia paid militants to attack U.S. troops. The number of coronavirus cases is rising quickly in India as that country struggles with the pandemic. More than 600,000 cases are reported in India, 100,000 of them in the past 4 days. California's confirmed coronavirus cases jumped 45% in 2 weeks. Governor Gavin Newsom shut down bars, wineries, museums, and inside restaurant dining. Delaware removed its last whipping post. Officials said it symbolized violence and racial discrimination. The post was used for lashings of alleged criminals. The practice was banned decades ago. Rita Foley, The Associated Press, with AP News Minute.
Latest headlines for you from BBC News. Amid protests in Hong Kong against the new security laws imposed by China, it's been announced that up to 3 million residents could be granted rights to live and work in the UK. Nearly 400 people were arrested, most for public order offences. Some face potentially a life sentence for calling for independence. Early official results seem to suggest that voters apparently will overwhelmingly approve Vladimir Putin's move to change the Russian constitution, would allow him to stay in power until 2036. First returns suggest a 3-to-1 majority. His critics see it as a blatant power grab. The White House has claimed that President Trump was never told by the U.S. Secret Service about intelligence reports that Russia paid Taliban militants in Afghanistan a bounty for killing American soldiers. Senior congressional leaders are to be briefed by the directors of intelligence.
The U.S. House of Representatives on Wednesday passed a bill with unanimous consent, taking aim at China's new national security law for Hong Kong. The bill penalizes banks for doing business with Chinese officials who implement the national security law, which House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said, quote, signals the death of the one country, two systems principle, undermining the former British colony's freedoms. The measure reflects growing concern in Washington over the law, which has drawn international outcry, condemning the law as an end to the city's autonomy.
The law is a brutal, sweeping crackdown against the people of Hong Kong, intended to destroy the freedoms they were promised.
The bill is similar to a measure approved last week in the Senate. Under congressional rules, it must now return to the Senate and be passed there before being sent to President Donald Trump to sign into law or veto. The U.S. has already begun eliminating Hong Kong's special status under U.S. law, halting defense exports and restricting the territory's access to high-tech products.